It's one of the most popular drinks in the world, and despite appearances, it's a lot more complex than you might think. Just 1 cup of espresso takes 27 seconds to make. And disappointing the drinker with a less than perfect shot? Out of the question.
The coffee ritual is more than just making a drink. It is something much richer, more interesting, magical.
But creating that magic requires innovation, and maybe even a little science.
When someone drinks an espresso coffee, they don't think that there is a science behind it.
Now, we'll go behind the scenes at Illy, one of the world's most advanced factories, to uncover the secrets of making the perfect cup of coffee.
Our passion, mission and obsession is to make the best coffee in the world.
To transform 100 tons of coffee every day into a top-of-the-line Italian product takes robotics, labs, even an art gallery. Welcome to the super technological world of Illy, the coffee megafactory. For coffee drinkers, there's nothing like a morning cup of joe to deal with the daily grind. You don't think about it, you just drink it, savor it, love it. But it takes a lot of effort to produce the perfect product. Situated in Trieste on the northeast border of Italy, the Illy Megafactory is a family-run business with a worldwide reputation, thanks to the exportation of a seemingly simple little staple called coffee. 2 areas of operation cover a whopping 22 acres. But there's one part of the Illy Megafactory that's the most impressive. The District Park warehouse. It blankets 15 acres and is as big as 8 football fields. Huge containers filled with coffee come in from all over the world. Then they're transformed into Illy products and distributed in 140 countries around the globe.
Products that are shipped to Italy, Europe and the rest of the world all come from here.
Next to the warehouse is the real factory, where constant technological evolution develops in the face of a challenge, achieving perfection. The taste of Illy coffee isn't only unique, it's secret. All phases of production are carefully monitored to ensure the perfect blend. So the Megafactory's got a lot more going on than just evolving industrial technology. There's an entire scientific hub here too. Advanced research labs use top-of-the-line instruments to analyze each and every bean. There's even a coffee university. Here, everyone's going for the same objective, to obtain the perfect coffee.
The perfect coffee is, first of all, aroma, body, sweetness, and balance.
The perfect coffee means many different things to millions of different coffee lovers. Even in Italy, baristas create a lot more than espressos in coffee shops. Any time is the right time for a cup of coffee, and you can have it any way your caffeine-craving self desires.
Everyone has his own personalized coffee.
To name but a few: long, short, double, cappuccino, American, Moroccan, shaken. The choices are endless, but the result is the same. Everyone has a preference when it comes to this aromatic, invigorating drink.
I have my favorite bar, my favorite coffee, my cup, my aroma, everything that I like the most.
A good way of finishing up a meal is to have a cup of coffee.
Italian coffee is called espresso around the world. A couple of gulps of thick, creamy coffee served in a small cup with or without sugar. And its effects are almost magical. You feel better after drinking an espresso. Slightly euphoric, more awake and alert. But how mankind discovered the secret properties of this drink is a mystery. One legend tells the story of Kaldi, an Ethiopian goat herd whose flock remained awake and active after eating the red berries of a wild bush, even at night. So he roasted the beans and dissolved them in hot water. It was probably the first coffee break in history. Legend or not, the euphoric drink invaded the world from that moment on. Today, after oil, coffee is the world's second most valuable global commodity. 400 billion cups are consumed every year, so saying it's a popular beverage is an understatement. It's a commodity for the market, but a passion for the drinker.
This is a process where all the green coffee beans are roasted. We receive a high volume of beans that have to be roasted before we ship them all over the world.
That's why the production of Illy coffee isn't limited to the transformation of a product. It's also driven by a real philosophy and challenge. A challenge that was founded in the 1930s and handed down over 3 generations. Andrea Illy is the last descendant of this historic family from Trieste, and he continues to endorse his grandfather Francesco's original ideas.
What I can say about my grandfather Francesco is that he certainly had clear ideas, because when he established Illy Cafe, he said, "We will make the best coffee in the world and we'll sell it all over the world." This basic idea was developed based on 3 concepts, which are quality, faraway markets, and technology, which is at the service of the former 2.
From the workers to the machines and processes, everything has to come together in order to win the challenge. Making the perfect coffee. The challenge starts when the ship transporting coffee from Central and South America and India and Africa moors at the harbour. Then the real work begins, unloading the containers as fast as possible. Currently, more than 2 million coffee sacks are shipped to the port of Trieste every year. 350,000 are then delivered to Illy's warehouses, almost enough to make a cup of coffee for half of the entire world. The containers are lifted by enormous cranes. Then trucks deliver the sacks to the Illy District Park, 4 miles away. Seven trucks leave here every morning with a load of approximately 1,800 sacks of coffee. It's the average quantity needed for daily production. The sacks contain green coffee beans. They're the seeds of coffee berries, cleaned and dried, but not yet roasted. They look like little green gems. The bags of coffee are poured into a large cylinder, which empties them completely during its rotary movement. The beans go through a series of grits and end up in a machine called a vibrating screen. The vibrations separate the beans from impurities or objects that accidentally got into the sacks. Then the cleaned green coffee goes through a complicated network of pipes. 72 silos, weighing 11 tons each. That's more than 700 small cars. Each silo contains coffee from a single origin, but the Illy mixture blends coffees from all over the place. To keep the whole operation running smoothly, it takes a sophisticated computer and operator.
Here is dose 1 and dose 2 where the mixture is made. The different values of each crude ingredient that is removed from the silos are shown here. But I can't show you since the mixture is a secret.
The entire production cycle of Illy coffee is based on a secret blend and top-of-the-line quality. And they only use Arabica beans. Even though there are more than 90 choices, Robusta and Arabica are the main coffees used in production. Arabica is the most valuable, since it contains less caffeine and tastes better. The man who oversees the quality of the raw material is David Brucer, Senior Super Taster.
The difference between Arabica and Robusta is that they are basically two kinds of coffee. Arabica coffee is produced at 60% of the world market, while the remaining 40% is Robusta coffee.
Illy produces one single blend of coffee, a balance of 9 different Arabica coffees that result in a delicate, aromatic treat.
The aromas that are present in high-quality Arabica coffee smell like flowers, fruit, toast, caramel, honey.
Since the company knows how to produce a high-quality product, they're passing that knowledge on to farmers. The University of Coffee has 22 locations around the world, along with the one inside Illy's headquarters in Trieste. Young producers come here to take courses and learn how to produce coffee that could one day become part of Illy's secret mix.
The training we provide for the producers has a multiple value. We try to work with them in a way that they feel they have a co-worker rather than a customer.
Coffee cultivation can happen in the midst of poverty and poor working and environmental conditions, which affects the quality of the product. Illy isn't fair trade certified, but they believe that better working conditions and higher profits for producers make a better coffee, and that's what they buy. India is one of Asia's leading coffee providers, coming in third after Vietnam and Indonesia. Its plantations produce about 5 million sacks a year. Many of India's producers put quality and sustainability first too.
There are two aspects to look at sustainability. Sustainability from the angle of the farmer, that he's able to sustain himself, give the best into his farm and produce a quality product. There's also sustainability which I look at from the environmental angle, that you're able to produce a crop which is sustainable, which can grow with less of pests and diseases. And I think Illy is doing both.
On the other side of the planet, Brazil produces almost 40 million sacks annually. Its plantations extend for nearly 6 million acres, the largest coffee producer in the world. In Sao Paulo, Illy has created one of the most important University of Coffee sites and one of the most advanced labs for the analysis of green coffee. The Trieste factory also has a lab that analyzes green coffee, potential candidates for the unique Illy blend. But only at headquarters do they taste 1,300 a year.
We buy the coffee only after analyzing the sample.
The beans are carefully checked for smell, taste, and appearance.
Right now, I'm analyzing the imperfections of a sample from Nicaragua. There are a few defects, those of which are abraded, immature, or ones that are light waxy or dark waxy. The differences in wax color mean they haven't had a uniform drying. Now I'll scratch and see if I find something. In this case, there's a type of defect called stinker, which is the worst olfactory defect that we can find. This sample will be shot down.
When the quality meets Illy's standards, they move on to the purchase. Then it's up to the tasters to decide how to use the coffee in the secret blend. The containers are sealed during their trip to Europe, otherwise the coffee could be exposed to variations.
Factoring in the storage conditions, temperature, and humidity helps evaluate the progress of the coffee to maintain the Illy taste.
The Illy blend is composed of 9 specific features. The company has to choose from approximately 4,000 different types of coffee, and each has one or more of these characteristics in different percentages.
I can't talk about how our blend is composed, because otherwise I would reveal a secret that isn't mine to reveal.
It's a professional secret.
This must remain the house secret, because it is the act of craftsmanship, the artistic side of craftsmanship, that must always remain in the life of the company.
The trick for the tasters is to combine a variety of flavors together with a taste that's always identical. Fabiana Posar is one of the 5 super senior tasters with this talent.
We use a set amount of coffee with different characteristics to maintain the qualitative level and the imprint of the taste and smell of the finished product.
All of the Illy tasters have finely tuned palates.
The main feature in this coffee is the jasmine flower. Then we find a little fruit, a good caramel and lots of chocolate as the aftertaste.
Achieving this level of expertise takes time, commitment, and continuous testing, as Michela Gentili well knows.
It took about 6 years to get to my super senior level. When you come to work in the lab, you train and work alongside people who have tasted for many years. After 6 months, you take the first test. After another 6 months, there's another exam you have to take to move up to the level where you can take part in the tasting and deciding process.
But what's the ultimate level the tasters can reach? And can they get the origin of the coffee right with their eyes closed?
Try this.
The first is certainly a Central American coffee. The second one that I am tasting is an African coffee. The first is coffee from Nicaragua. The second from Ethiopia. Did I get them right?
Yes, well done.
Only tasters like this can ensure that the special Illy taste withstands the test of time. The coffee, which was checked at its source, is re-examined by the producers before shipping. Then the tasters will analyze it again when it reaches Trieste at the end of its journey. At the Illy Megafactory, Trieste hosts the entire coffee transformation process. The city on the Italian border is a strategic location for businesses. Its port, midway between the Straits of Gibraltar and the Suez Canal, is a crossroads for ships arriving from the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. It's an ideal place to get to the heart of Europe, a city linked to the history of coffee consumption.
The coffee drinking began at the same time in Venice and Vienna about 3.5 centuries ago. Trieste was under the political, economic and social influence of both cities and became the port of reference where they made the most important coffee trades in the Mediterranean.
For more than a century, historical buildings like the Tomaseo Cafe or the Cafe of Mirrors have provided a common ground for intellectuals, writers and politicians to meet. Coffee is in the DNA of this city. Trieste has always been a multi-ethnic city. In 1920, it changed hands from the Austro-Hungarian Empire to Italy. Here, Francesco Illy, a citizen of Hungarian origin, started a business in the cocoa and coffee sector with an innovative idea to create a coffee that could be exported around the world. In 1933, he partnered with a local businessman, Robert Hausbrand, whose family company sold roasted coffee beans ready for use.
When he founded Illy Cafe, my grandfather Francesco said, "We will make the best coffee in the world and sell it all over the world." This was the idea of the time, 78 years ago. Today, the fact that the world is globalized, it is taken for granted. Back then, it wasn't like that.
Until the 30s, one of the main problems was conserving the taste of the coffee. Illy introduced nitrogen gas into the production cycle, and coffee was exported worldwide without losing any of its flavor. The process replaces oxygen in the coffee tin with nitrogen at a pressure above atmospheric. This preserves the taste of the coffee, which would be lost if it came into contact with air. And it's a method the Illy Megafactory still uses today. For decades, the Illy Megafactory has been a frontrunner in innovation and technology. They're on a constant search for the most advanced machinery, like the bichromatic sorter. There are 3 bichromatic sorters in the roasting department, Illy's patented invention for quality coffee control, bean by bean.
Every cup is composed of about 50 coffee beans, and only takes one to completely ruin the taste of a cup of coffee. We need to control 100% of all coffee beans that are processed and roasted.
The system photographs every single bean to help identify those that are immature or fermented. A jet of air removes the defective ones, including the bean before and the bean after, just to be safe. The sorter analyzes more than 11,000 beans per second. But defective ones don't enter the mix under any circumstances. The ones that make it end up in silos, ready to move on to roasting. The required dose is taken from each silo to make up the 9 specific components of the blend. Arabica from various sources. Then the mixture comes here for 3 stages of processing: drying, roasting, and cooling. Each cycle takes about 15 minutes. In the first stage of preheating and drying, the humidity of the coffee averages 9 to 12%, which evaporates. Drying takes up almost half of the entire process. Then the coffee is roasted. The temperature gradually increases to 400 to 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 14 minutes. At this stage, the bean starts taking on its most familiar form. It goes from green to brown, hard to brittle. Taste is generated during the roasting process. The raw coffee is transformed into a broad spectrum of flavors.
There are about 1,500 chemical compounds in a roasted coffee. Half, I would say 800, are volatile compounds. They're perceived through smell and contribute to the taste of the coffee.
Finally, the coffee enters the third phase of product quality, cooling. A jet of air cools the coffee quickly. Now, the beans contain less than 1% humidity. Since this is the only way to preserve the taste of the beans, a qualified technician must always be on hand. A compressed air system raises the beans and leaves residue on the bottom. Then the air carries the beans to the silos, where they're left to mature for 3 to 20 days. Once the maturation process is over, it's time to get the coffee into the tins. Thanks to Francesco Illy's exclusive idea, it's packaged in pressurized containers in a modified atmosphere.
Coffee needs to complete its flavor formation for around 3 to 4 weeks. It needs to stay in a pressurized container. The pressurization, which was patented by our founder in the 1930s, increases the intensity and completes the smell of the coffee.
The company uses pressurization for all its products.
It's a technology that allows us to enhance the flavors of the Illy blend and export it around the world.
The air in the canisters is replaced by a mixture of inert gases that puts pressure on the beans. That causes oils to expand and aromas to release at the moment of tasting. Every product and package that comes from the Megafactory uses the modified atmosphere, and each packaging machine is designed for this unique technology.
Proprio perché la particolarità dei prodotti e l'unicità dei prodotti fa sì che tu ti devi anche
The uniqueness of our product means that you must also design and build that type of machine to produce that product.
ti permettono di produrre.
It's pretty easy to recognize a shop selling Illy coffee once you see the canister on the coffee grinder. It's a symbol for the company. So in order to guarantee total quality, canisters are produced internally in the canister production department. They're made entirely of tin plate, one of the oldest metals used in food packaging. And they're composed of 3 parts: a wall, a bottom, and a lid fitted with a ring. The tin plate sheets are pre-cut and pre-printed with the Illy logo. It's all automated, but staff still checks the quality of every single step.
When I first started at the company, most of the lines were semi-manual. Now the machines are all automated. Most the staff has to do is press a couple of buttons.
The machines work in a continuous cycle of 3 shifts. One bends the tin plate into a cylinder, while presses print the bottom and the lid. Finally, in assembly, 2 circular welds block the base and lid. To produce a container worthy of its contents, another unique Illy technology comes into play: the circular welding machine. The production line can make 1 canister every 7 seconds, the equivalent of more than 5 million cups of coffee a day. That's almost enough to serve the entire population of the leading coffee-drinking European country, Finland. Industry and science have been an inseparable pairing for the company since it was established.
There's an Illy Cafe slogan that I've always appreciated. It is the art and science of espresso coffee. Who knew there's so much science behind just drinking an espresso?
The company's approach strives to match research and product. It's an innovative approach, which started the very day when Illy Cafe was established.
The Aroma Lab is a research centre in Trieste, where cutting-edge science meets the taste of coffee. For more than 10 years, these labs have been among the leaders in coffee research. Here, scientists work non-stop on coffee chemical components.
We use all kinds of chemical characterization techniques. There are several methods for studying, identifying, and mapping aroma components, as well as for detecting and mapping defects.
The Sensory Lab combines chemistry, physics, and psychology. Tests involve company employees with above-average tasting skills. The results help map coffee taste perception.
The Sensory Lab tries to understand and explain why people like coffee. It was established to study individual perceptions, such as taste and smell, especially food and coffee.
Tasters sample the different preparations and fill out a questionnaire on the computer. Data regarding sensations and perceptions is collected and analysed.
First, we need to evaluate the color and the appearance of the coffee. Looks to be a nice hazelnut color, a brown tabby as we call it. They say, when coffee is striped, it's good.
Sensory analysis gathers and interprets results from individuals to analyze the mechanisms which a stimulus is perceived and encoded by the human mind.
Each step of the production process is the result of scientific and technological research, always with the aim of maintaining the distinctive Illy taste. The canisters have been made to ensure pressurization. The coffee treated to make the most of its aromatic potential. Now all it has to do is make it into the canisters. The production line fills about 12,500 cans per day. That's 82,700 pounds of coffee to be enjoyed by 5 million coffee shop customers. A machine applies a hologram to each canister, which guarantees that the product won't undergo changes. It'll reach any shop in the world with its special blend intact. There's a lot more to Illy than ground coffee cans. Since its origin, they've consistently invented new machines to improve coffee making. The first professional coffee machine to be patented was the Illy in 1935. Iper Espresso is the newest Illy innovation. It's an integrated system of capsules and machine, specially designed for one another.
È interamente prodotto da noi. Tutto il
We produce the whole entire system, not only the capsules, but also the machines that are needed to complete the system.
a completare il sistema.
Using excellent quality coffee is not enough to make the perfect cup of coffee. Coffee preparation is key. And to make sure that anyone can make a perfect cup of coffee, even if they're not qualified baristas or experts, you need the right technology.
The capsules are made up of 4 components. A lid with a water inlet. A body with a 1/4 ounce of roasted, ground and tamped coffee inside. An elastic valve and the bottom, where the espresso comes out. It's a symbiotic relationship between the capsules and the coffee machine. The capsule is inserted, and a metal needle makes a hole in the lid. Then the elastic valve allows water to flow into all the coffee contained in the capsule before seeping through. As the coffee passes through the valve into an antechamber, it mixes with air and forms a velvety cream that lasts for over 15 minutes. Whenever a new product is developed, the production facility evolves accordingly. New machines were installed to make the capsules.
The new Illy capsule is another new challenge, because even in this case we have a product that is unique. This capsule provides a high-frequency welding of the lower and upper part, which is a technique that was derived from automakers, such as in the production of car headlights.
The Iper Espresso capsule packaging machines can produce over 200,000 capsules a day. Stacked on top of each other, they'd equal the height of 15 Empire State Buildings. Capsules are assembled and then passed along a belt for filling. Then they're filled and sealed. Precision robotics pack them in canisters while running them through a fully automated cycle. Coffee has been cleaned, roasted, ground, aged, studied and perfected. But if the baristas of the Illy coffee shops around the world don't know how to make a proper cup of coffee, all their efforts will be in vain. Enter the University of Coffee.
I'm thrilled to help shape future connoisseurs, people who can recognize the perfect coffee by its taste.
Do you want to try to do it alone? Start high, slowly the volume rises, now it goes down. The flow increases. Go, 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 perfect. Well done.
Students from around the world come here. The University of Coffee trains 10,000 people every year.
What about you? Do you like it, Sergio? You're already in the clouds today.
I corsi che ho frequentato presso l'università.
The classes I took at the University of Coffee gave me the opportunity to understand the flavors, the feelings that everyone has when drinking a cup of coffee. But most of all, I understand whether a coffee is made well or if it's a poorly made coffee.
Non è un vero caffè, è fatto male.
They analysed the coffee beans one by one and invented groundbreaking techniques of preservation. But Illy is much more than coffee. The company has made a name for itself in the world of art, with a focus on beauty and design. And it can be seen clearly in the Illy collection of artistic cups.
Our coffee is a small work of art. The cup itself is a work of art because it is made by a major contemporary artist.
The company decided to ask designer Matteo Thun to create a cup that was somewhat consistent with Illy's concept of quality and taste. So we started looking for a shape which would become an icon.
But the cup is only a small part of Illy's relationship with the art world.
Over the past 20 years, art has become an integral part of our daily routine. All our machines are designer-made, and all our collaborations are culture-oriented.
Entering the Illy Megafactory in Trieste for the first time is like finding yourself in an art gallery.
Our collection of cups has a logo that is made by contemporary artists. The artwork shows everyone all over the world that Illy doesn't only make coffee, it creates a culture of taste and beauty.
Illy seeks to create the perfect blend of taste and beauty with highly advanced equipment and research labs. Everything is packaged in the Megafactory. Then it's taken to the Mega Warehouse, a space with more than 10,000 shelves. Big enough to house a Boeing 747. This is where all of Illy's products, ready to be shipped around the world, are stowed. Illy coffee might be sipped in Athens, London, Berlin, or at home. But everything starts here. It's a classic example of how a small family business can become a global operation. Their philosophy of using the most advanced research, technology, and science contributes to the brand's success. Francesco Illy's idea of creating a coffee culture in the 30s is still very much alive.
We feel part of a unique environment and, most of all, we share the same goal. There's more to it than just making or selling a product.
My grandfather Francesco said, "We will make the best coffee in the world and we'll sell it all over the world." I'm not saying we make the perfect coffee, I'm just saying we try to.
Today, millions walk into cafes every day to order a cup of coffee.
You just have to tap here, dose the coffee and tamp it. Now twist this in place, wait 27 seconds, and here's the perfect coffee.
Behind this simplicity, there are farmers, ships, chemical labs, and technology. Together, they create a worldwide, everlasting coffee culture.